Now, for what's felt like absolutely years, I've been saying that the Mercedes and the Haas eventually will be battling each other. Because, well, the Haas is awful, and the Mercedes is on the biggest downhill trajectory. I'm not quite sure how 1 year in 2021, Mercedes can go from lapping the Haas pretty much every single race to now, what, 2 or 3 years down the line, them battling them on the same lap for the same points in races, qualifying, sprint races, everything. I mean, from when I'm recording this, literally yesterday, the qualifying sprint race, the other qualifying, sprint qualifying, the Mercedes, the Haas's, they were literally neck and neck on pace. Hamilton just beat Nico Hülkenberg in qualifying, and well, Hamilton and Magnussen, they were literally having a brawl for, well, what felt like points, but it really wasn't, because, you see, in my mind, if someone says the word Mercedes, this is what I think of. And if someone says Haas, well... And they're battling each other. That's kind of crazy, kind of sad at the same time. And it's sad because George Russell has been screwed over, like, massively. Anyways, before I actually start yapping, subscribe and like, please help me out. I know you want to, and you will eventually. If it's not this video, it's gonna be the next, or the next one. You will eventually. So just do it now. Why not? George Russell, the driver who has more shirtless pictures on the internet than Mia Khalifa and Lana Rhoades combined. He has been a Mercedes driver for generally what's felt like ages. Well, he's now a driver for Mercedes, quite obviously. Him being screwed by Mercedes, surely he must be a driver, right? The thing is, you see, the thing is, in an ideal world, Lewis Hamilton wins the 2021 championship fairly, not it being rigged or anything, any shenanigans happening near the end. He gets his 8th championship, he's like, guess what? I've done it, I've beat Schumacher's record. What is there for me to do here now? He retires, and that's the end of it. That was probably George Russell's best case scenario. He gets into Mercedes now in 2021, replacing Bottas, and Mercedes gets someone else. And George Russell is now the lead driver of Mercedes. There's no inter-team competition, George Russell trying to prove that, well, he's better than Lewis Hamilton or this, that, and the other. There's none of that, because Lewis Hamilton isn't in the team, and George Russell, well, he's the primary driver, right? But that really didn't happen, because 2021 played out very, very differently. 2022 comes around and Hamilton's still in the car, and you got George Russell, who wants to beat Lewis Hamilton, and Lewis Hamilton wants to get his 8th world championship. The thing is, Russell was actually quite good at the start of 2022. Mr. Consistency was his name, and Mr. Consistency did get a race win. And in those, last couple years that Mercedes have been driving, Mercedes have only gotten 1 race win, and that has been George Russell. George Russell, 1 race win? I mean, at the end of the day, Pastor Maldonado has 1 race win, so if we're comparing Pastor Maldonado to George Russell, then that's saying a lot, but let's not do that, shall we? 2022 was meant to be some kind of blip in the system, some kind of error. 1 bad year, they went wrong, okay, 0 pods, boo-hoo-hoo. It was meant to be the fastest on the simulator. Guess what? It was an absolute shitbox on track. Lewis Hamilton was breaking his back more than... And it was just a car to write off from the beginning. Toto Wolff kept on saying every single race week, and George Russell, don't worry, next year our car will be better, or something like that. But instead of Mercedes being on an upward trajectory, their car has been getting worse and worse and worse every single year, to the point where George Russell is over-pushing the car every single time he potentially might win a race, and because of it, well, he does what George Russell does best, and either kills someone or ends up in the wall. Okay, and what? 2022, 2023, they went wrong both times with the car concept. 2024, though, everything changes. James Allison is back designing the car. The car is totally different, basically designed by Hamilton and George Russell by the way they like to think the car to be. And how did that turn up? Well, it's been Mercedes' worst car for I don't even know how long, ages, maybe even their worst car ever. They haven't gotten the podium yet, haven't even been close to a podium. Hamilton and Russell, they've been knocked out of Q3, Q2 on multiple occasions, more time than I can even count. And There's races where they don't even score points. They're literally battling for 9th, 10th, 1 point, 2 point with the Haases, with the Alpines, with the Williams, with the RBs, literal shit boxes of vehicles, and that's who they're fighting. Compared to, say, last year or the year before, they were both terrible years, but they were still fighting the Ferraris, the Red Bulls. Okay, maybe Perez, maybe not Verstappen, because he's in front by what, 15 miles? Maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less, give or take. You see, the worst part is, every single year from like, what, 2019, 2020, 21, George Russell kept on asking, I should be in that other Mercedes. Get Bottas out of here. I should be there, to Toto Wolff. Toto Wolff kept on saying, George Russell, you will get your chance. I mean, he got his chance, but it's been Mercedes' worst cars for ages. If only Toto Wolff would have listened, and maybe, well, George Russell could have put up a fight with Hamilton in, say, 2020, probably not 2019, probably not even 2020, and definitely not in 2021. So let's be real, he wouldn't have won then. Maybe a race here or there. And when he actually did get the chance to step into the Mercedes, well, it's been awful. It genuinely sucks. Well and truly, Mercedes pretty much guaranteed him championships, wins, podiums, fastest laps, beating Hamilton, beating Verstappen, beating everyone. And, well, this is what he is now. They overpromised him and underdelivered, and it's disappointing, and they've genuinely screwed his career over. Because, I mean, yes, he's still a pretty young driver, but where is he gonna go? No, he's not going to the Ferrari anytime soon. Maybe even ever. The Red Bull? Probably not. The Aston Martin? Probably not. The McLaren? Probably not. And what is he left with? Audi? Maybe. Actually, maybe. But that is if George Russell even wants to leave, because Mercedes is the pretty much one of the biggest powerhouses of Formula 1. There's no doubt about it. They're going to be back up there eventually. George Russell might be in his 40s by then, but they will be there. Hamilton has lost faith in Mercedes as well. He's dipping over to Ferrari, and there's no doubt about it that George Russell has probably similar thoughts in mind. Will Mercedes ever recover? Will I ever get to win another race? Even stand on the podium? Heck, I'd love a championship. But guess what? A championship really isn't possible if you're fighting the Haases. Because the Haases, they will never win a championship. Now, with Lewis Hamilton leaving the team, 100% George Russell is going to be the primary driver. That is, unless, say, Max Verstappen comes over, then I guess it's going to be the team of Max Verstappen, won't it? The car will be orange, everything will be Dutch, no longer German, no longer British, just orange army. That's not going to happen with Mercedes' current performances. And George Russell, well, he's going to be the #1 driver. So if a championship does brew up eventually, surely it will be him to lead the team forward and win, but you know, Mercedes, they're looking a bit rough. The thing that amuses me the most is the look on Toto Wolff's face every single qualifying race when he expects more but then forgets that he's in 2024 and not 2020 or 2019 where, well, they had a rocket ship. The face of disappointment, the face of anger, the face of what am I even doing here? The face of I've just lost Lewis Hamilton. And George Russell, who knows if he even wants to stay in that team? Like, well, of course he does, because there's literally nowhere else to go for him. Like, genuinely. The saddest part is that he was promised championships, and he's in cars that really don't differ that much to the Williams. Maybe a couple tenths faster, but there's really no big of a difference. There's literally zero doubt that George Russell, he will, well, once Mercedes leaves, he will be the #1 driver. In Mercedes, he's been neck and neck with Hamilton, beating him on some occasions, and sometimes, well, he lets some wins slip under his fingers and decides to crash. His performances are quite stellar, not just in the Mercedes, but in the Williams as well. A P2 in qualifying in Belgium, that was impressive. It's a shame that now, well, the car he's been given is... They can't even get P2, not even P3, not even P4, not even P5. Heck, it's struggling to get into the points. And Mercedes being Mercedes, they're trusting George Russell to contend for championships once Hamilton leaves. That's not going to happen. Championships aren't going to come Mercedes' way with the trajectory they're on. Mercedes have well and truly, genuinely screwed over George Russell's career. It's literally like the polar opposite of Daniel Ricciardo. Daniel Ricciardo, well, he screwed his own career. George Russell, well, a team has screwed over his career. They told him to wait to go to Mercedes. George Russell waited just like they said. And where has that ended up? Well, he's up to that, blah, 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 blah. Honestly, at this point, he should probably just grow a mustache. It will make him look a tiny bit faster than he probably is at the moment. Not his fault, but it's Mercedes' fault. Yet again, Mercedes have screwed him over well and truly. It's their fault. And the times where he's actually been in contention to win races, I mean, 2020 Sakir, when he replaced Lewis Hamilton, bro, he was faster than Bottas. So that's saying a lot. Two drivers comparing each other. Russell's better than Bottas, and so and so and so. And in Brazil 2022, when Hamilton was literally on his tail the whole race, he didn't crumble under pressure. He won that race and he stood on the podium like a champ. It's a shame though he couldn't stop himself from crumbling under the pressure in Singapore now, could he? So in a nutshell, Mercedes driver George Russell was promised a Mercedes seat. He went into Williams for a couple years, begged for Mercedes seat. He was like, please, Mercedes seat, please, please, please. They didn't give it to him until, well, 2021. After that, they were like, you're good enough, come into the seat, come into the car. We'll win a championship this year, and you'll be leading the way. Maybe Lewis Hamilton, you'll be scrapping each other, but if you beat Lewis Hamilton, you'll be the greatest of all time. But that really didn't happen because their car was an absolute soapbox. And for the next couple years, he has been dangling down in P10 and so on and so forth, wanting to win a championship, but his car can't do it. Is Mercedes a fraud? Have they lied to him? Yes, of course they have. Have they overpromised and underdelivered? Yes, they have. Is this the first time that it's happened in Formula 1? No. Will it keep on happening? Yes, I mean, it will happen forever and ever and ever, but it's just a shame that George Russell has been caught in the middle of it. It's a pretty bad situation to be in. Yet again, gonna kind of compare this to Daniel Ricciardo, but back in the day, Daniel Ricciardo. In 2014, he went into that Red Bull seat and, well, stood on the podium like a champ on multiple occasions. Now, yeah, he did get, what, like 3 race wins, but the car wasn't as good enough to win championships, which is probably what he was expecting, knowing that Red Bull has just won 4 consecutive championships. Same with George Russell, went into the Mercedes in 2022, knowing that Mercedes had just won however many constructors and drivers championships in a row. Probably thought the same. Ricciardo stays in Red Bull for however many years, and until 2018, his brain does a little fart and decides to leave because the car just isn't there. Couple years down the line and Red Bull are fighting for championships, and look at them now. They have the fastest car of all time. Now George Russell, does he wait it out for like 10 years, see if Mercedes can do the same thing that Red Bull did, bring themselves back up and actually fight for championships and, well, produce the best car ever? Or does he decide to leave soon and, well, do the same thing that Ricciardo did and absolutely fumble his career more than, well, Mercedes have done that already? Seems like George Russell's in a little bit of a pickle here because, but if I was him, I wouldn't know what I would do. Do you think that George Russell should stay in Mercedes or decide to leave? And has his team been more sabotaged or bombed than he's bombed himself, or bombed Carlos Sainz down into Turn 1 Texas? Let me know down in the comments. Watch there, subscribe and like, please help me. And, well, don't dive bomb under a car and don't die. Have a safe and fantastic rest of your day, and peace.